We want you to enjoy tonight's guest speakers. You're going to take something home from what these folks have to say. So I want you to listen and enjoy and relax and get comfortable. And we hope this is a special night for a lot of you. Well, Dr. Moore's going to come back up tonight. If you'll just join me on stage. Here he comes, Dr. Moore. He's going to give us tonight a parent's perspective on having a child with a developmental disability as through his experiences. Please welcome back one of our most well-known advocates here at HTC and recognized board member, Dr. Waylon Moore.
They've marked my life. Miss Gibbons, Mrs. Ragsdale, Mrs. Douglas, Mr. Gary, you tried to call him go off the war, became a captain in the Marines, and then came back out of the war. All you teachers are wonderful. Thinking through my own life, I'm honored to be with so many tonight. I'm a parent of a disadvantaged child who grew to adulthood. And you've been working with all kinds of kids and young people and adults who have great needs and great difficulties. After 2 perfect births, with a daughter and a son, God gave us a different child. After 3 DPT shots, we discovered Paul had arrested development. My wife, the pediatrician, was growingly horrified to see that he'd stopped progressing completely. No milestones and getting farther and farther behind. This wasn't a virus he would outgrow. We took him to the University of Florida 2 or 3 times. Finally, as my wife cried all the way back to Tampa, they said, come back in a year. When they say come back in a year, that means there's nothing they can do medically. We did discover something called patterning therapy. And we had 5 volunteers 4 times a day for over a year that came in, different people. You can imagine taking that load of people that are all different people coming to pattern your kid where maybe he could walk. And he did walk and got where he could even run. But he had intractable seizures. He would fall 20 to 40 times a day. We got a helmet for him because we couldn't catch him every time. Once the seizures became controllable, he began to develop again. At Lavoie, teacher Peggy Van Vliet was a calming influence on him. He became rather violent at times and lacked control, and she worked with him and got him to cleaning erasers, and after class, she would walk with him slowly to the bus where he wouldn't run into someone. And finally, he loved school, and when she had a baby, she invited us to visit in the hospital, and she even had Paul sit on the bed and gave the baby to Paul, and he held him. I was scared to death, but she wasn't. And Paul felt accepted. It was marvelous. When Paul lost more and more vision, he would run into people, and he thought they had run into him. We discovered he had a brain tumor, and they operated on for 11 hours, and his condition, the tumor did not grow anymore, but he lost most of his eyesight, and he became more volatile. We didn't know exactly what to do. He would get angry about almost anything and start hitting people. He had about a 2 or 3 minute second fuse, and then we were in trouble. At 21, he was no longer able to go to school then and became very depressed and harder to control. Principal Paul Rich was so helpful in helping us to approach the school board to see if there could be further help for children that were adults that were 5 to 7 years old mentally and had nothing for them outside. Dr. Leon Lowry, pastor friend with the AACP, was on the school board, and he had a handicapped child too. And he was the first Afro-American kid actually to go into McDonald training school, and we were thankful for that. My wife and I had 5 degrees between us, but we couldn't outthink and control our son. He was 6'4", 270 pounds. It was trial and error. We had plenty of error and a lot of trials. The only thing that helped him curb the anger, my wife began to teach him verses of Scripture. And he learned 50 verses of Scripture that he could quote, sometimes forgetting the references. But that began, and we would use those verses, and he would quote those verses back to us. It was utterly amazing. I was driving down Hillsborough Avenue when it was 2 lanes. You could go one way, and the other lane was coming the other lane. It was very narrow, and in front of me was an older lady trying to straddle the line there. And I began to mutter under my breath, "Sister, move it over, come on, come on. Slow down or pick up, let me get going." And I was saying this under my breath. And Paul said, "Daddy, patience is better than pride. Don't be angry, that's being a fool." Ecclesiastes 7:9. And he applied the Scripture, he applied the paddle to the place, I tell you. So I apologized to him. I was utterly amazed that he took this anger thing that I had and really worked on it. One thing that we love to do, for 2 weeks in the summer, we went to North Carolina. We had a tent camper, and we bought 2 acres of property. And with losing eyesight, if you could take him to a sapling, with a saw, he would cut it down. He loved to saw. His grandfather taught him to saw and hammer, and he couldn't see the hammer anymore. But if you give him a sapling and a saw, he would work on that thing till that thing went down. So everything was nice and level there. After Paul, we bathed in mountain streams. We had a hammock that we could swing in there that I got when I was in Brazil. And he didn't want to leave. I mean, we picked blackberries and just had a wonderful time. Dug our own latrine. The tent camper at night, we had varmints that would climb on our roof and cross the roof. It was quite an interesting experience up there. And the school was getting ready to start, so I said, "Paul, we gotta leave. The kids gotta go to school." He said, "I don't want to leave." And I said, "Well, there won't be anyone to cook for us." And he said, "I'll get a North Carolina woman." We learned many lessons from Paul, lessons that helped us in our family. We learned to love even when you weren't loved back. We learned to handle pain, giving it to the Lord, and in return, getting compassion for others in crisis. Our 2 other children were marked by Paul. Bruce is a pastor at Life Point Church over in North Tampa. Martha's a university student worker in Germany. Both are extremely sensitive and moved toward hurting, broken-hearted people. We didn't know what to do. Things were so low, we couldn't find anything for Paul to do, and he was just so depressed sitting at home. No one considered him. He'd been asked to go into this place, and he tried that, and someone did something, and he shot a worker or knocked someone down that touched him the wrong way, and we didn't know what to do. Then we heard of the Human Development Center. They welcomed Paul. That behavior modification really began to work, and he became a different person. He worked at the Sefner area, a watering plant. He didn't want to eat. He wanted to just keep watering on and on. That is hobby of where he would eat something. He loved leaving the house, getting on the bus, and working at the Sefner Gardens. Then at night, a couple of nights a week, he went to Lavoie School at night, and he had special practical classes, and it was wonderful. He was getting money for working, and he was happy, and it was just tremendous. These were the happiest days of his life. HTC still takes people that no one wants, and their lives are changed. I was gone speaking, and I got a call early in the morning, and my wife, Clemmy, said, "Come home immediately." And I took the first plane out, and a staff member picked me up and carried me to the hospital, and I walked into the room, and she said, "Paul is dying of a brain hemorrhage. We've done all we could do. There's nothing left." She said, she's a pediatrician. She said, "I felt his first heartbeat when he came out. And I have just felt his last heartbeat as he's gone on to be with the Lord." It was just so sudden. We saw Paul everywhere in our dreams and around the house. memories of our special son that no one wanted. But you as a teacher for Paul and hundreds of others, you became the diamonds that shone through the darkness of our life and gave us hope. You teachers with an unusual heart for needy people put sparkle back into our life. I think of the grandmother we met who had 3 grandchildren, and both parents had left them with her. And she didn't have any help except you helped her. As parents of a disadvantaged child, we had real needs. My wife isn't here for the first time in 15 years. She went home to heaven a few weeks ago after surgery and multiple infections. I believe there was a great reunion with Paul, and Jesus smiled and hugged him. And down here, he's hugging me every day. As parents, we say with all emotion, thank you, dear teachers. You gave us hope and strength. You gave our kids love and patience and time. You helped them to be more balanced. And you're my friends forever. Thank you so much.